Olympics has changed world history with the competition, enthusiasm, sport, and excitement by bringing together world athletes to one place for athletic contests. Competing for the Olympics is usually the ultimate goal and achievement for an athlete. The very first Olympic Games were called the Ancient Olympic Games. The Ancient Olympic Games were held in the 8th through the 4th century AD and were held in honor of their gods. These games were always held in Olympia, Greece. The people that competed in the Ancient Olympic Games were called the Olympiads. The Greeks were the ones that invented the very first competitions. The Greeks were also the ones who invented the very first stadiums. The modern Olympic Games that we know first started in 1896 that were held in Athens, Greece. The founder of the first modern games was Baron de Coubertin. The difference between these games and the ancient games is that these include participants from around the world. The Olympic logo consists of 5 rings which represent the original 5 continents. The rings mean bringing peace to 5 different continents. This is why the Olympics are important, because it brings nations together peacefully in healthy competitions and not war. The idea for the modern games started in 1894. It was requested by a person named Linus Viklos. Viklos was an athlete's instructor that wanted to make a sport that included gymnastics. The first step was to create the IOC, International Olympic Committee. The purpose of creating this committee and the modern Olympics was to include all really good sports and show how great athletes are at sports. Dimitris Viklis was the first president of the International Olympic Committee that sets the rules for the game. He was born on 15th February 1835. Surprisingly, he had no relation to sports and never went to a real school. He taught himself only a couple of subjects: literature, botany, architecture, and languages. He loved literature and architecture. Viklis grew up in Greece. Some of the differences between the ancient games and the modern games include the ancient games women were not allowed to compete and only Greek nationals could participate. When the ancient Olympic Games started, it was only a one-day festival, and it was only wrestling. Several hundred years later, the competition expanded and took place over a 5-day festival with many events. Sacrifices were made on the first day of the festival, including the killing of hundreds of oxen. In the modern games, women can compete, and any person from any country can compete. We now have opening day ceremonies and closing day ceremonies. The competitions are now separated into winter and summer games that can last over a period of 3 to 4 weeks. Throughout the years of the Olympics, different sports have been added and eliminated. In the ancient Olympics, they used to have tug of war, but then eliminated it because it used to get too aggressive. As the Olympics continued on, more sports have been added to the Olympics. For example, basketball was added in 1936. As for some other sports like swimming, swimming has been a sport since the Olympics started. Snowboarding is one of the new sports that has recently been added. In the mid-90s or 80s, the IOC started to separate the Winter and Summer Olympics. Now you know a little more about the Olympics. When I was researching all of my information, I even learned more about the Olympics than I already did. For more information, go to my timeline or bibliography on Google Docs. I hope you learned as much information as me. All thanks to Baron de Coubertin and Dimitris Viklis, the Olympics would not be like it is today. This documentary was directed and produced by Gracie Mead. Thank you for watching the Olympics.